Hey, everybody, we're live.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Happy Friday, people. Are
Hey,
you not glad
if
it's
Tim and
Friday?
Katrina are on here, that means it's Friday and it's
Oh
afternoon.
my God. Are you not glad it's Friday? I'm just
I
saying.
don't care.
Oh,
I don't care what day of the week it is. My world doesn't change no matter what day of the week it is.
well, mine does.
It does
I
for
do
my
a lot
wife.
more on the weekend than I
Yeah.
do during.
But no, it changes for my wife because she gets Saturdays and Sundays off. I don't.
Yeah, well, I know. I kind of do and kind of don't. Sometimes I work on my business, but lately, because we're in the process, as you know, my saga of selling the house, it's constant open houses and cleaning the house and doing this and making sure this isn't. So it's like, it's a lot of work.
Oh, that's probably a topic we should put on for next week is the housing market because
It's a changing, brother. It's a change.
yeah, I went to go, so I'm selling some of my rentals and I went to list one of my rentals and my neighbor who's an agent and she's like, I've got nothing in that area to compare it to. There's nothing for sale like it. I'm like, oh crap, man. I'm gonna have to go find someone who sells investor properties to just find somebody who's looks at it for the investment because the general market is going to look at that and go, I don't know if that's worth it or not because
Yeah.
there's nothing to compare it to.
Yeah. And here's my understanding is the rates are going to start going up next year.
Yeah.
And right now, buyers have what I've been told 3 weeks to take advantage of this opportunity. So if you're thinking of buying a house, now's the time to do it because
I'm going to buy houses, but
the
the rates doesn't matter to me because I'm buying them to rent them out. And
yeah,
I'm basically buying them so I can rent them to you and you can pay my mortgage. And I really don't care what the rate is.
Yeah, but the hardest part in California that has changed is both California and New York are very similar when it comes to housing market and so forth. And it's just because California's been going up and up and up and people have been bidding wars and that type of thing, it's now leveling out so that there's not a lot of bidding wars going on anymore. It's leveling out here, but everywhere else, they haven't been having those bidding wars like California has. So they're having a hard time keeping things on the market. They're going quite quickly.
Well, as an investor, California is the one place I'm not going to buy.
Yeah.
However, I mean, years ago, I don't know if you know Craig Batley. I know him from down Orange County area here, but Craig and I talked about real estate out there. I was going to buy a beach house and Craig talked me out of it. He's like, Tim, you don't need one. I'm like, yeah, but I'd love to have a place to go to. And he goes, Tim, call me anytime. I'll rent you one for a week.
Yeah.
Why buy it? Let somebody else hold the expense of it. Just rent it for a week because that's all you want it for is a week here and a week there. Yeah. Why are you going to pay the expense to do that for a week here and a week there? And I'm like, well, I could rent it out. He goes, trust me. One little property is not going to do you much good to rent out by the week. He says, by the time you pay the expenses for me to manage it and everything, one property, it's going to be a headache for you and you won't want it.
Yeah.
Because all you really want is to come out 1 or 2 weeks a year and rent a house. Well, come out and rent a house from me. I got them.
Yep. But it's a great opportunity for business opportunity. I mean, for people to buy property for renting because there's still a lot of opportunity out here. It's starting to change. The
you're going to see, I still think, all right, as we get into our first topic here, we're talking very close to this, but you're going to see the market change, I think, in real estate, and you're going to see more of a drive of people for their residents, working people for their residents. If they have to work mobile, you're going to see them move to the center of the country because land's cheaper. Properties are cheaper. They're going to move to where it's cheaper to be able to live since they don't have to be where they are to work. They're going to move to a cheaper place and sell and what's going to do that's going to do is eventually it's going to drive your prices down. It's going to drive, the coast prices in Texas, drive them down. Yeah. All right. Because people are like, wait a minute, I'm not going to go there to live anymore. Why am I going to go pay, $100 a square foot when I can live in Kansas and pay $12 a square foot for my house,
Yep. And then there's the shocker though, too. I mean, there's a lot of Californians going out to areas that not seen that snow before. They've not seen hurricanes. They haven't seen tornadoes. They haven't seen any of that because they haven't been living in those type of environments. And some of them are going to love it. And some of them are going to go, what the hell have we done?
And I'm going to remind them, just in case you don't remember, I don't know what a forest fire is.
Yeah. Well,
never had to deal with it my entire life. And I've lived in 3 or 4 different states. I've never had to experience that because it's something very, very common to the West, not to, to Texas.
Yeah.
Now we've had brush fire type things, but it is not nearly as dramatic as like you get mountain fires out there.
No, but you guys have, you guys have tornadoes out there in certain areas. Your weather's a lot more extreme than we have in regards to ice storms and hail and rain.
Well, the ice storms only came when you California people came here. They weren't here 10 years ago. You brought them.
Goddamn Californians. Californians. Can you go back home? Yeah, come back and buy my house, please.
All right. Well, let's get started with what we got for today. We've got 4 great topics, guys. Yeah. All right. Katrina's going to lead us off on our first topic here. Go for it, Katrina.
Which kind of ties into what we were just talking about. And I'm sure a lot of you have kind of noticed this or not, possibly. But if you go to CVS, you go to Vaughn's, you go to these other stores, if you notice that a lot of the shelves aren't quite as full as they used to be. There are things that, or you're getting told, well, that'll be in a week. Or even Amazon, who promises they'll have something to you the next day, is now 2-3 days, sometimes even weeks down the line, depending on the supply. And this is something that as a country we're really dealing with, which is the demand is huge, but the supply is not there. And a lot of that, and I read this article, which I thought was fascinating. I just assumed that we got a lot of our imports from China. In some cases we do, but a lot of it also comes from Vietnam and other places that are having their own issues with the COVID variant. And because of that, they have nobody there to make the stuff. They have nobody there to manufacture the things that we're anticipating to get. In fact, new cars right now are at a prime because they still are waiting for the chips for these cars to come across so that they can bring on the new cars. People are ordering them, but they're not going to be here for a while. So, and on top of that, and I'm not sure people know this or not, but especially in California and Long Beach, we have a whole bunch of ships out there full of stuff, but there's nobody to take that stuff and bring it to the consumers because they can't hire on soon enough, or they can't train those people soon enough because.
Do you remember the movie Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
No, I've never seen that.
Oh my God. George Clooney goes into the store asking for something, and everything he asks for is 2 weeks.
Oh.
So here's what I'm thinking is, well, isn't this place a geological oddity? We're 2 weeks from everything.
Yep, pretty much.
We are now living, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Pretty much. And it's kind of, it's interesting because, like I said, we've got these big boats out there that have all this product on it that people are waiting to get. And I'm almost tempted. And there are some people that have actually gone as far as saying, okay, I'm a truck driver. I know 5 or 6 other truck drivers. Let's head down there and see what we can do to get some of these supplies to the people. Because the hardest part, even for the farming, is a lot of food has gone wasted because they can't get it to the market soon enough. So it's wasted. So there have been some people that have realized this and said, listen, I'll get the trucks and I'll take it to the market. So that way we're not wasting this and we're not losing money. Because right now there's a lot of people losing money, especially those that are in the service base or product base. They're trying to get that stuff out there. And like we said, the supply and demand. Supply is at its highest ever in history. It's at its highest is the demand, and the supply is at its lowest.
Can't you just picture some guy riding around in his little boat out there, talking to the captains on there? So what you got on there? All right.
I'll take it in. I'll take it in. Yeah. You want it? It's this much. You want it? It's that much. It's like if you had a big enough boat, you could do it.
And the boat captains are right there sitting there going, well, in cargo hold number 42, we've got more Doritos. We're good. Yeah. Hey, Joe, go break out the Doritos. We're going to be here for another 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. We got food for days.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
But you know
what? As opposed to the ship with all the sex toys onto it. Those guys are like, damn, we've got all this stuff and we got no place to use it.
We went there again, folks. We went there again.
Count on it. Wait a minute. If you think supply and demand, all right, and stuff that is sitting on those ships, I want you to think about it. Imagine if each ship had all of one thing onto it. But if they got a combination of things onto it, the guy who's sitting on the ship and can't go to shore, he can live on that ship. He doesn't care what's going on in America. He's got it there.
They can just dig in and say, here's my new computer, here's my food, here's my new sex toys. I'm good.
Screw Tim and Katrina getting their new cameras for their podcast, all right? We're just going to use the cameras here, and we're going to photograph, all right, the card games we're playing on the boat. Oh, by the way, we need a new deck of cards. That's down in canister number 75. All right.
Go grab
halfway
it.
Back in. Yeah.
Go grab it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I mean, I personally think that we used to be a country that exported. Now we're more of a country that imports. And
I know people don't want to hear this, but maybe had Trump had had some sense about that. Maybe we should be making more stuff here. Maybe.
I agree. I totally agree.
I'm not saying you have to like Trump, but maybe
that's a good idea.
In that idea.
That's a good idea. I think we should be more of a country that's exporting out instead of importing in. And then
not that. Why aren't we taking care of our own on our own land?
Well, because corporate wanted it cheaper pricing.
I know,
and that's why we put it offshore. Now we're dealing with that supply and demand and how it hurts us.
Yeah. But to come back to that, all right, Katrina, this is not political. What I just said.
Yeah.
This is all right. I think if Trump was in office, we'd be dealing still with the same crap. Trust me. This is a problem that the pandemic created. This is the after effects. Here's my thought is, Katrina, what's going to be the after effects of this?
No idea.
Because every problem generates into another problem if we don't fix it.
It's a domino effect.
It is.
As we know, everything's a domino effect. And here's the thing, though, too, is as business owners, is your supply and demand having issues? I mean, are you relying on other vendors and other people to bring in the things that you need to supply for your clients? And are you getting that on a timely basis? Or are you having problems too, because this is something too that some small entrepreneurs are dealing with, where they may be dealing with people in other countries like the Philippines and, India or whatever. And if they're having their own issues too with the variant and that type of thing, and now your staff of 4 that you have offshore that was supposed to get this done is sick and they can't do it.
Yeah.
What do you do? So, I mean, that's another thing that as a business owner, you have to sit down and figure out, do I hire offshore or do I keep it in-house? Because as we know, when you keep it in-house, it's a lot more expensive than when you hire offshore. So
maybe we all go back to having our own farm and provide most of our stuff.
I agree. Or we go back to doing more things on our own than relying on other people to do it for us. And I know
just China. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I didn't say that.
But I know as a business owner, this is something that you have to think about. I mean, the whole idea is you want to start a team so that you can build your business and do better. But you have to think about, do I have that team offshore? Will that work best for me? Or do I have that team here in the United States because at least I can rely on it more than offshore? I mean, it's an issue we're all dealing with.
When I had my car wash business, this was the unique way that I handled it. The guys who would work the hardest for me were your day laborers. All right. I hate to say it. Probably half of them were illegal aliens and I paid them cash. I don't care.
I agree.
They were the ones who did the work for me because they were good at doing work and I paid them more than anybody else was going to pay them for their day. However, I had a staff, 5 people overseeing them that could speak English. All right. They had customer skills because they had to deal with the customer, walk into the buildings and connect with people. All right. They were the communicating part. Then I had, the 4 people in the truck who were just washing cars and most of them probably didn't even speak English.
Yeah.
They shared with me enough English to tell me what they wanted for lunch every day, but that was it. Right.
Yeah.
They didn't know. Well, that's the same thing in our world. If we're going to use things on an offshore basis, we need to have somebody onshore directing the offshore to keep it going and keep it coming in.
Yep.
However, we are in a situation in our world that 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, whatever you want to be, it is something happened that none of us, and I do mean none of us, could foresee that 100% of the country was going to be shut down, nothing in, nothing out, nobody doing anything.
Yep.
All right. And the idea that, like, you know, we've delayed and delayed, some people getting started and they're going, well, I'm afraid I still want my unemployment. I don't want to go to work yet. All right. This was, all right, one of the things that needs to be in our world. All right. We need people who want to go to work. They want to change the world. They don't want to rely on what you and I are going to give them. They want to go create it themselves. That's business.
And there are some people out there. There are many people out there that are doing that. Yeah. And there's also, it gave this opportunity. This was a great opportunity, I think, for a lot of people too, to realize what they're doing that they don't like doing, and what they can do, and opportunities because they've been forced to look at it.
Yeah.
And so it's really given a lot of people the opportunity to say, okay, I don't want to be a dishwasher anymore. So I'm going to learn how to do code and Python and so on and so forth. Now I can get this much money as opposed to this much money. Yeah. So it's given a lot of people that opportunity to see that they have options.
Yeah.
Where before they didn't see that. Because right now it's an employee game, not an employer game. There are more employees that can go in now and say, okay, I'll do that job for you, but I'm going to do it for $20 an hour. Take it or leave it. And they're going, okay, I need you. So come on in. I'll pay you $20. I don't care.
Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny that a solution like this actually solved our minimum wage problem?
I know. And it took this to do that.
All right. But there are still people who don't want to go to work. All right. You know,
I
have a neighbor, all right, who's still waiting. Oh, well, I want a management job. And I'm like, dude, you can't pay your bills and eat right now. I'd take a job at McDonald's if I couldn't eat.
Yeah.
You know, and I've never had that mindset, but then I don't have a college education. So I'm not going, well, I've got an education and a master's, and I don't
either.
I've always been like, okay, I need to eat. Let me go to work. What do you need me to do? Yep. Shovel a ditch out. Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
You know, even in business, I learned during the pandemic, I learned new skills. Like, you know, you and I were talking beforehand. I learned how to, operate Kartra. I'm now operating Kartra. I'm doing like 4 people's stuff in Kartra because I know how to do it. I didn't know how to do that a year ago. I learned it.
Yeah.
How many new skills could people learn? All right. Because I might as well learn this.
Yep.
It's a great opportunity. All right. Well, yeah. When it comes to supply, your labor, if you can't find a supply of labor to do the job for you, you do the labor. Which means some nights you may be working a long time as a business owner. It's the parts and stuff that we need that come in. That's the stuff that you can't control.
No.
All right.
Anyway. No, like the new computer you need because your computer went on the fritz, and now you got to wait for one to come for 2-3 weeks because it doesn't have the chip.
or you have to wait, or you have to have somebody buy. You have to buy a refurbished one because your cat ran over your old one.
It's part of that supply and demand. I'm just saying.
I know. And by the way, my new computer I'm still not quite used to it. The screen keeps tipping down on me. I'm going to have to put something down to wedge it up.
Oh, torture. So let's move into our next topic.
Number 2
is a great topic. And we're going to go through, I mean, as a business owner, you have a lot of platforms out there to choose from. It's just a matter of what's going to work best for you. And I think when you're looking at your business in general, a lot of times when you're first starting, you have no idea what to use. You got to figure out what you need as you're going along, and you're going to piecemeal a lot of these things. Some of them will be free. Some of them only cost this much, whatever the case may be. But it's a matter of what is your cost? How long is it going to take you to learn it? Is it easy to utilize? And I think those are the key things you need to look at when you're looking at any new platform to pull together. But these were some of my favorites that some of them are free and some of them have a cost, but they're very minimal. And I'm just going to go over the basics of what you would really need to put together.
Yeah. Before we go into that though, can I add something to this when we talk about choosing your apps and stuff is so often I see people come in and the first thing they think about, well, how cheap can I get it? No. How do you want your business to run first? I mean, the number one thing that I have in my program, the 52-week marketing plan, number one, join a mastermind. All right. Hire a coach. Why? Because you want somebody who's going to stop and look at you and go, you want me, all right, to come to you, Katrina, and go, Katrina, okay, how do you want your business to operate? What do you like to do? What don't you like to do? What's the flow? What's the way you want customers? What's the type of customers? When you write that down, and sometimes I tell people the oldest app in the world that works, start here and make a design how you want it to work. Now we find the tools to plug it in.
Yeah,
as opposed to, I started my business, truthfully, 2010, I started this. In 2010 and 11, I used MailChimp. I got by with it because it was free. It was a pain in the ass.
Yep.
But it was free. Then I finally had the money to invest in to actually get what we're going to talk about in here in a bit. And when I invested, all right, I invested in a program that was the next one that I could, I should say understand, but there's the next one I could afford.
Yep.
To switch everything over from MailChimp to that one was a pain in the ass.
Yes. Yes.
Had I started with, this is what I want to do, and then found the program that worked to do that, I would have saved myself hundreds of hours of pulling my hair out, as opposed to, well, it's the cheapest route. So anyway, now I want you to go down what you've got on these.
So, in part of this is the hardest part at the top, is your client resource management piece.
Yeah.
And that's where you were talking about, where you're holding all of your clients' information, your notations, everything on your clients, so you know exactly what your clients are doing, what they need, that type of thing. And the ones that I thought, HubSpot is still free,
yes,
which is a good opportunity, and it's a good one to do if you have a budget constraint. It's still free.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you mentioned MailChimp, which has gotten a little bit better, and Intuit just recently bought MailChimp. So
who was it? Oh yeah, we talked about that a couple of. Who was it again that bought it?
Intuit.
Intuit bought it. Yeah,
also own QuickBooks, and they're also buying a bunch of other things too. So they're trying to be a be all everything type of thing. And the other one is Kartra. Kartra, as we know, is one of those. It's a one-stop shop, so to speak, where you can have everything together instead of having all these piecemeal. But when you're on a budget, I get it. You want to piecemeal these things because of the cost, but sometimes it costs you more to piecemeal them than to get something like this. So you have to look at your cost as well on that. Email campaign, same thing. MailChimp can do that as well as Kartra.
Mm-hmm.
Invoicing, my personal favorite. I know Kartra does invoicing as well. Then there's also QuickBooks will do invoicing for you. But my personal favorite is Dubsado.
What is Dubsado? I've never heard of that.
Dubsado I use for my calendar. I use for my invoicing. I use for contracting to sign agreements, that type of thing. And that's kind of what it's laid out to do. It's one of my favorites because it's easy to do, easy to use, and it's very reliable for the most part.
So like if I wanted, like in my case, coaching clients, so I have them all signed a contract with me, an agreement that what the terms are to be in the program. So you have that probably has a better, are you saying that has a better way to create the contract as opposed to like Kartra, which I use now?
Yeah, they have a template that's already done for you. And the nice thing about it is they've got it set up. It's kind of similar to a Word document that's like a macro Word document where you have fields that you set up ahead of time. And then it inputs it based on, it'll automatically input the client name, your name, the date, the numbers, so on and so forth. As long as you've plugged in the other stuff on the other end, it does it all for you. So you don't have to do it. So it makes it very easy. Plus, it gives you the option as a signature. And a lot of you have to go out and get DocuSign. You don't have to do that with Dubsado. You send it across, they sign it, you countersign it, done.
So, but yeah, because it's one thing that I've not done. I don't have any, I basically make an agreement on my pages, and then I make it a button that they have to check to say I agree. So that's one of the ways I've done around that, but it's in our online world. All right. But that was the only thing that, like, contracts, like I had one, my hotel, like for my event here in November, like it was an online contract she sent to me, and I just clicked the buttons and signed it and sent it back to her.
Yep. This is nice because it actually shows the signature. I mean, just like with anything with DocuSign, you have to pick whichever font you like the best that represents your signature the best, but it shows the signatures on both. And the nice thing about Dubsado as well that I really like is they have an option to set up a client portal so that you can attach that to your website. So then now if any client has any questions regarding invoicing, emails, anything with that client that's attached to will automatically go into this portal. And all
Okay.
you do is send them to the portal and they can see everything.
Wow.
So it's one of my favorites and it's done really well. And for the cost, you can't beat it. You just can't beat it. The other piece is accounting, which I use QuickBooks, which is the #1 out there, but it's also the most expensive.
It is. Yeah.
There's also Quicken, and there's also a new one that's called Free Agent that's starting to take over when it comes to QuickBooks. It's a little bit more of a dumbed down one, but it does exactly pretty much what QuickBooks does for a hell of a lot cheaper. Then the merchant accounts. Of course, we know Authorize.net, which Barbara handles, which is a good one. And then I personally like Stripe because Stripe works with a lot of the platforms out there, just like Authorize.net does.
Yeah. So I actually have an account with both.
Yeah. And with landing pages, Kartra, you can do that. And like we talked about, you can also use WordPress because a landing page is simply a page in your site.
It is. So and like I use kind of both Kartra and WordPress, but I also did use for the longest time, I was using other things out there for my landing pages, but I found Kartra's pages and on WordPress, I have a main page that you maintain the outside, the main page, but my back page is, I don't know if you've ever counted in there. It's like there's 5 pages of back pages in there. They're all done with Optimized Press, which I've used. Optimized Press started as a theme, but now it is a plugin to create back pages. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's gotten much bigger too. It's gotten a lot more options than it used to.
Yes. Yeah.
Then your social media scheduling. I personally use Social Pilot. It's not that expensive and it does a great job. And it also goes to Instagram, which was one of the hardest ones to get a lot of the schedulings to schedule to.
Really? They do Instagram? Yeah, because I've had Hootsuite and I kind of quit using it because it won't do my Instagram.
Exactly. But Social Pilot will. And the nice thing about a Social Pilot too, it'll remind you with LinkedIn, they have security measures in place. So you have to reconnect your LinkedIn every 90 days, which is kind of a pain, but it works much better than Hootsuite. But the other option too, if it's free, is Hootsuite. But you got to remember, you can only have 3 channels on Hootsuite for the freebie. If you want more than that, you got to pay for it.
I think I had 5 because I've been on Hootsuite for so damn long.
Yeah.
I was on Hootsuite when they didn't have a paid version.
Yep. And then there's the productivity and task management. The 2 that I think are the best out there is Asana and Trello. I used both. Just depends on what you like. The cloud space, I like Dropbox as well as Box. And both of them.
What about iCloud?
iCloud is a good one too, but I'm not an Apple person. So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. We're still trying to convert you.
But iCloud for those Apple people is a good one too.
For those people going to heaven, it's iCloud. For those people going to hell, I don't know.
Wah, wah, wah.
Oh, no. Those people in heaven, it's iCloud. Those people are in hell.
And then the calendar one, the good one that's out there is Calendly. I used to say it was Acuity, but Squarespace just bought Acuity, so it's all combined in there.
Acuity was nowhere near as good as Calendly is. I'm sorry. And Time Trade was. I mean, I've tried a ton of them. Time Trade sucked. All right, Calendly made me jump. I'm like, this thing works great. Yeah,
much better. But my personal favorite is Dubsado again. I use all my calendar in Dubsado, and it works really well. So
again, now you're gonna have to teach me about this Dubsado thing. All right, I'm gonna have you run more things in my business.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I'm just saying, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And these are our favorites, or my personal favorites that I've used over the years. There's more out there, and they're always changing. Some of them are being bought out by the bigger guys, and then they change the format. So it's just a matter of what's going to work best for your business, what's going to be easy for you to use, and what's budget friendly. That's the best way to, that's how I always chose.
So guess what time it is?
Oh.
Don't you like my new guess what time it is thing? I have to do more things. I actually need to start getting our topics and putting into that so I can just pop our topics up there anyway.
We'll get better at this, folks.
We'll get better at this.
So live and learn. We'll get better. We'll get better.
But it's.
Are you going to go first?
No, I'm letting you go first. Ladies first.
Oh, wow. Oh, I feel so special.
Yeah.
All right. My website tip for the week is, I get this question all the time. It drives me nuts. The first thing they always say is, what about my SEO? Can you get me to the top of the Google rankings? Well, here's the deal. If you really want to be at the top of the Google rankings, you got to pay a hell of a lot of money. But there are a couple things you can do on your own to get you a little bit higher up. First, the best SEO is your content on your website, making sure that it's relevant to your audience. The more relevance you make, the higher you rank on Google, believe it or not. Second is utilizing your keywords, utilizing that through your content. And don't overdo it, because when you do, it's the opposite. They'll put you at the bottom. So make sure you don't overdo it. Third thing is you want to ensure you're naming your images. In other words, put a title on them as well as a descriptor, and put your keywords in there as well. It's another way to do that, because a lot of times when you've got images that come across, especially from royalty free, they'll say JPEG 81256 and blah, 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 blah. Nobody knows what that is, and it's not helping your SEO. So start naming them and getting the descriptors in there. It's going to help you a lot. And you can capitalize, like I said, on those keywords. But remember, when you make these changes, you've got to be patient and allow the algorithms to catch up to your changes. It takes a little bit, and it's going to take time, but you'll see if you put these in place, you're going to start to get higher up the chain. That's my tip. Now it's your turn.
I know. Because I actually sat there and realized I can add new banners. I can add new banners when you're talking. So I was like, oh, website tip of the week, because I was trying to create the banner that said content tip of the week. So, hey, content tip of the week. Have your content ready.
Yep. Be ready.
Anyway, so
that's my tip.
All right. So now we go to the content tip of the week, ladies and gentlemen, where I actually had this great idea with content, and I'm going to tell you where I come up with this today. This morning, I went to coffee with my mother, and we went to a Starbucks that I used to hang out with at 20 some years ago, like 20 years ago, 19 years ago. I was there every morning at 8:30 a.m. And one of the guys who used to hang out with me there was still there. It was a group of businessmen that went there. And I thought about this idea this morning. Was so many people come up to do their ideas for whatever they want to do, with a podcast, with a show like this, with a blog, and they're like, what do I do? And they're so confused with it. And I thought about it, because that friend who was sitting there, that I actually was able to come up and say hi. And actually, when I walked up, he was on his phone. He goes, excuse me, this is important. I got to go. And he held his phone back to come up and give me a hug. That's the friendship, because we go back 20 years as friends. And I thought about it for this very reason. Because 20 years ago, actually 18 years ago, we buried his brother, his younger brother. We buried his younger brother. Over the years, we've buried his father. Over the years, he buried a daughter. And I thought about it for content. Some of us are looking for the idea and not realizing the idea of the very content that you started out with, or many of us started out with what we are the greats, is not the content that they're most known for now. Most of them started a podcast, a show, a blog that was one thing, and then basically transitioned into something else and transitioned into something else. And what they became most famously known for is nowhere near what they started. They just got started. And many of you need to come up with an idea to get started. Today's what you need to do to get started. Why not interview your friends? Interview those people who are most impactful in your life, your friends, your close friends, your best friends, and just call the show for the time being. Hey, let me introduce you to my friends or family. I've had the privilege of interviewing my mother on a podcast, and I will forever have that recorded because I did it. I only wished that my friend Jeff this morning, I was in the podcast business in 2003, and I would have interviewed his brother, who was my best friend. I wished I would have interviewed Jeff's dad, who again was another great guy that I knew. I only knew his daughter as a baby. His daughter, before she passed away as a teenager in a car accident. Didn't know her as a teenager. But imagine if you actually had an interview with those people and could save it. Why not start there for your content idea? That's just my idea for content tip of the week.
Nice. Good idea. Very good idea. It's a good one. Then you have your archives of your friends and your
Imagine that. All right. Anyway.
Yeah.
I had to, I literally come up with that this morning because of the fact of running into Jeff.
Yep.
It wasn't something I planned. My whole idea what I was going to share with the content was totally different. And I changed it to that.
Great idea. And anytime with content, the easiest content is the stuff, like you said, that's right in front of you. Yeah. You just got to start. And
And again, most of you are like, well, but I don't want to do that. It's like, who cares? My first podcast episode that I ever did was on Blog Talk Radio, and I interviewed a childhood friend of mine that he has since been back on my podcast over the years 3 times. But it was my first. Now, he has been interviewed on the Today Show and everything because of his business. But he came down and did it for me. Why? Because we were childhood best friends.
Yeah.
Why
Never
not
know.
interview him? And now
Just
I have that.
start.
I have that as an interview forever because of the fact that I got him on an audio podcast.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yep.
It's a great idea. I mean, like we all say, we are our worst enemies. It has to be perfect. It has to be this. It has to be that. Just get started.
Just get started. We can fix it along the way.
Yep. Just get started.
All right.
People making millions out there, they just got started.
So that kind of transitions into our next topic.
True. Very true.
Backups for your business. Are you doing
God.
them? Are you not? And if so, what are you using?
What
do you got on that?
I know. And this drives and as you know, if you've been listening to us over the time, I had my own issue where I had an external drive and it went and it was a Western Digital. And the problem was, is that somebody got into all the Western Digitals that were wireless and so on and so forth. And they literally went in and erased everything on those drives, erased everything. Luckily, I was able to recapture 95% of my information.
No,
but
this is the hard drive out of the computer that crashed.
Yeah.
I actually got this case and took the hard drive that was in it out and put my hard drive into it so that I can, and this is now my backup hard drive.
Yeah. So, I mean, backups are so important because as we know, your data and your information and your client list and everything, that's your gold mine. That's your gold mine. You lose it forever. So I always recommend that you've got 3 backup options. 3. One is that you have an external drive like Tim was showing you. That's about 2 terabytes. The cost of a lot of those is like about $80. It's really cheap now. It's not that as expensive as it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is a cloud-based one, and I use either Dropbox or Box.
I use that Dropbox,
Yeah, and they have a service. It doesn't cost that much, and it gives you terabytes as well. 2, 3, 4 terabytes, depending on how much space you need.
Mm-hmm.
Another good one is Amazon. They have one as well. That's a good one to do. And then you want to have an offsite backup option that's constantly backing up all of your information. I personally use Carbonite, but there's a bunch of them out there. And that's another option. But those are 3 places that you're backing your information up to so that if something happens, you've got your data.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's on one piece or another, you've got your data. And that's what they always recommend is 3 options that you put together for your backup.
Yeah, I know, like, I have several of those hard drives. Like all of the videos from my conferences are on different hard drives, and I don't have them labeled. I actually have some video stuff still on CDs that I actually got to take, or DVDs that I got to take off and put in an actual hard drives because I had a guy do my events years ago that he basically would burn every one of the videos onto a DVD, and the problem is all the DVDs, the formatting was different, so I just kept them in a drawer.
Yep.
So anyway, one of these days I got to take them all, convert them into MP4s, and put them all on discs. Because I get the raw footage from my camera. So I make my camera guy for my event hand me the raw footage, and then he erases it. He can't keep it. So
I mean, and it's not. You have to figure out what's going to work best for you, but you got to put them together because when you lose it, it's that panic and the oh crap, now what do I do? And that's what a lot of big businesses have lost their data because they've had ransomware come in and then said, well, we'll give it back to you for this much money. So, I mean, if you've got a backup of a backup of a backup, then you're in good shape. I mean, we talked about this Fujifilm a long time ago. They had an issue recently where they had the same thing happen, but they didn't have to pay the ransom because they already had a backup.
Yeah.
So they said, good luck. We've got our info. Thanks. And they downloaded their new info, a new server, the whole works, and they're ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have these three options, you'll have the same option as well.
Well, I mean, and yeah, it's you always got to come up with what are you going to do? Yesterday I'm downloading stuff from our client, and I actually put it in 2 different places for them because of the fact that I want to be able to access it. And I realized after I tested things that one place I was putting it was still reliant on it being on their server. So in other words, I had to take it and come up with a secondary backup so that basically if it deleted off their server, I still have it. Because the first way I did it, we deleted one thing off their server and realized it wasn't on the first place. I'm like, oh crap! Good thing I had on the secondary state, because that first place was actually tied to, there was a tether, and that tether wouldn't allow it to continue. It was a video I was trying to get, and I lost a video in the tethering effect. But anyway, I eventually got it all down to my computer, and then I put it from my computer into a storage box. Yeah.
Yes. So. Gotta have those plans. Gotta have those plans because it's torture. Torture.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a good topic. And it's something that I kind of got because it's a book I'm reading. And I'm going to go through this first and then I'll tell you the book I'm reading. But okay. I think that as an entrepreneur, that's so different than in corporate is when you're working, time seems to fly. Like before you know it, you're looking at the clock and going, shit, it's 5:30? When did that happen? Yeah. Where I remember my corporate job, I was constantly looking at the clock. God, it's only 3? Jeez, it's only 2? When is 5:30 coming around? So, and I think this is important as a whole because when we're happy and we're working, it's not work because time flies. But when you're not happy.
Yes, but.
When you're not happy.
Tim's going to throw something in with that time flying thing that you probably didn't see coming.
Oh, okay. Go for it.
Okay. We're also older. Time flies when we're older. I'm not saying you're as old as I am. I'm just saying as you get older.
I understand that. But still, when you're doing something that you hate, regret, don't like doing, you have to admit that time seems to be going on and on and on. And you're looking at the clock thinking, when is this day going to end? But when you're doing something that you really love and you're really into it, it flies by. So
I know. It's like just yesterday, it was Monday.
Wait, what's today? Oh, that's Friday.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What day is this? Yeah.
What day is it? Friday.
Yeah.
So I thought that, if you're in that spot and you feel like it's not something you love or you're in a corporate that you don't like, this particular book that I read, it came up with a couple of options. And I think it's a great opportunity for you to sit down and figure out what you can do that you do like or figure it out. And he stated in this book, and I'll tell you about it in a minute, is one, you have to do 2 lists. You've got to do one with your soft skills. And when I say soft skills, that means communication, value-based, you're a great listener, you figure things out quickly. Those are your soft skills. And then one with your hard skills, where you type this much words per minute, your web design platform, your security platform knowledge, communication degree, Microsoft 65 expert, whatever. Those are your hard skills. And the thing with those 2 lists is they're both things that you can learn, that you can either change, learn, work on. They're both things that you can learn. But the last list is the most important list, which is the list of your values. Mm-hmm. And when you're doing anything, they always state that you have to do it based on your values. And we're talking values, we're talking about like some of the values might be your trustworthy, integrity, fairness, structure, creativity. And we'll upload a whole list of those that I got from Mind Tools. But the thing is when you're basing what you love doing on your values, that's when that time goes by fast. And when you're looking at those lists, the best things to do is circle the things that really light you up, that you'd love to either know how to do, want to get better at, whatever the case may be. And that's when you start to figure out what you can do to move forward and be able to do what you love so that time flies by.
Like our hour is flying by because I love
Yes,
doing this podcast every week. But
exactly.
yeah.
But this book, I'm going to tell you.
Before you before you release the book, I want to go someplace with this.
Okay, go for
First
it.
of all, I want to know what in the past year has been a soft skill, or what is a soft skill that you've had to learn and you've learned it in the past year.
Being better at communicating.
For me, it has been being more of a listener.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying last year was huge for me to learn to listen more. And I actually was talking about with this on my other podcast with Sandra D. Robinson yesterday, talking about listening and communicating, because our world over the past year, I go into a place and people may have their masks on, and I've got to look at your eyes while you're talking.
Yeah.
And watch your mouth. Some cases I don't hear everything, so I have to really tone to listen to it. And the mask has made it harder for me to listen to people because they're behind a mask.
Yep.
See, that's where my skill was listening.
Yeah. So, and I think that was another good thing that came out of all of this too, is it made us better listeners, because we had to hear. I'm sorry, I didn't catch what did you say?
What'd you say?
And you had to really listen, and you couldn't really interrupt because you got to figure out what they're telling you and what they're saying. So you really had to stop and open your ears and close your mouth, so that way you could figure out what was being said. Like you said, with masks, it was hard. Plus you had the plastic partition in front of you. I mean, you have all of these buffers that are taking that voice away, and you got to really strain to figure out what they're saying. So I think in that it made us better listeners.
It did, but I will tell you something I did for years, and this is stupid. It's funny. I get made fun of for doing it, but it works to get people to listen. It really does, and that is, I was at a thing talking with I think his name was was Tony. I can't remember Tony's last name, but Tony's doing this speaking thing, and he's asking for people to help them learn how to get what they want. And he actually goes around with the microphone and he's getting people to say what they want. And he says, so, okay. And I stand up. Because, Tim, what is the number one thing you want right now? And he puts the microphone in my face. And I said, Jennifer Lopez's home phone number. The room laughs, right? The people who heard it laugh. Wait. The other half of the room, what did I miss?
What did you say?
And hey, and then Tony goes, no, seriously. This is serious. I'm like, and he puts the mic back in my face, and I go, seriously, Tony, now 100% of the room is listening. Only 40% was listening before, because you laughed and everyone, wait, what did I miss? And now everybody's listening. Now let me tell you what I really want. This is weird and it's strange. And it's like, yeah, you're just being a funny guy. No, I used to watch as a kid Hollywood Squares, and Paul Lynde used to you'd ask a question. He'd tell a joke first. You laughed. If you missed what he said, you now missed because everybody's laughing. What did he say? What did he say?
Yep.
Now you're listening, and he gave the answer. Many people miss that in communication, and that is something I've learned in communication. Do something the first time to get everybody listening, and then tell them the second time what you wanted to say.
That's a great idea. It's a great idea.
So, that being said, I want to move on to a hard skill. What is a hard skill you've learned over the past year?
Oh gosh, hard skill I've learned over the past year. Kartra. How to deal with all one inclusive, because I was against it. I've
learned Kartra better than you.
I didn't like it as far as I was concerned. That's like saying we make chicken and we do haircuts. You're going to do one better than the other. Why? It didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And I really went kicking and screaming until I started learning Kartra and realizing, okay, this can work. Okay, this is a good opportunity. Okay, this can save me this much money a year. Okay, I can do this.
For me, the other one was StreamYard.
Yeah.
All right. And it's funny because I was talking with Craig. Yes, Craig Duswalt, you're both of our coach yesterday, and Craig and I talking about it. And I said, what we've become experts at. I said, I know Kartra, I know Kartra better than you because I've studied so many things to figure it out into it. Yeah. But I said to Craig, I says, when this pandemic started, Craig called me to ask me how to use Zoom because he'd not used it. Craig can teach me things about Zoom now because he had to learn it. Right. Now he says yesterday, he goes, man, I really want to learn StreamYard. So he was talking about this guy who was on a show the other day, this Ken Walls and StreamYard. I'm like, trust me. I was like, I want to say, Craig, I know a lot more about StreamYard than Ken Walls does. All right. I realize Ken Walls knows people, but I know a lot more about StreamYard than Ken Walls does, but I'm not going to point that out. I'm like, Craig, if you want to know, you'll ask me. If not, you'll ask. But I learned StreamYard and Kartra, and Kartra was the one I was kind of pushed into because I had to learn it. I had to learn it because some of the things that I was doing that I wanted to implement using my old system, which was one shopping cart, was not working anymore.
Yeah.
All right. And things were advancing and I needed to advance to work with my clients. But the second one was StreamYard. I was doing my old podcast, my other podcast, by recording it on Zoom and then taking it and putting it into a recording up as a video using Ecamm. So then like the recording was done. And then when I'm broadcasting it live with Ecamm, I'm not there. I'm just in the background. And then I found StreamYard to where I can record it. I can broadcast it. I have it put on audio and video. All right. It took steps out of my process. So I learned how to make it better and then run my events with it. So,
yeah. I have to admit StreamYard's it's a good opportunity. And Zoom, I know, has just gone. I mean, they've made so many advances over this past year because so many people have been utilizing it. It's been, I mean, phenomenal what they've done. But I mean, and like I said, getting back to the book that kind of started.
Now I want to go to the book that got us all started on this conversation.
Started this topic for me, and I highly recommend you read this book. And be forewarned, it is not a feel-good book to make you, oh, this is so cool, yay! It gets down to the nitty-gritty. It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a, and I'm going to say the word, so close your ears, fuck. And it's by Mark Manson. And this book is a #1 seller on the New York Times. And it's phenomenal. He really breaks it down and takes, I'm sure a lot of you have done the feel-good books out there, but I'm telling you, this puts it on its ear. And it's a great book. Highly recommend it.
Cool. Yeah, I've not read it yet, but I've heard a lot of other people talking about it and how it was impacting them. So same things.
Yeah. So, it's definitely made me make changes in my mindset and make me realize, oh, that's a good idea. I need to do this, or I need to do that, or put things in action. And so it's changing my mindset. So that's a good thing. For a good thing. It's changing it in a good way. Not in a bad way. So I highly recommend you read it. What would you say is your favorite book that you've read that's, where it changes things and I
still have it, right? It's right here.
The Game of Life. Yeah. I still haven't read that. I'll have to read that. Game of Life.
And wait a minute. And I have most of my important books that I keep right here now. I actually put I put a shelf in this week. And because I'm trying to change the space over there.
Yeah. I don't remember seeing that. I'm thinking, wait a minute.
Normally most of my other podcasts, I'm standing up. You get a lot better view of it. All right. But anyway, I'm putting 2 shelves. I'm trying to get a lot of my shelves off the ground because I want to use the ground space.
Yeah.
Put in chairs and stuff. As opposed to right now, I have a shelf over there that I want to be able to get rid of. But anyway, but I have a lot of them up here that I've read over the years that were interesting. I actually have up there Duff McKagan's How to Be a Man. Really good one.
I don't know if that would work for me though.
No. Me Inc. with Gene Simmons.
Wow. Right. Me Inc.
Yeah. Me Inc. with Gene Simmons. One that was done, and it's good for both men and women to read. All right. It was called Wild at Heart. It was written in 2003 by John Eldridge. Another great one. Where's the other one? I have a really good, where is it? I used to have it up there, but I guess I don't anymore. It's moved. I had another one up there too that was an impactful one. Maybe it's down here.
I was gonna say my books are all.
It's down here. 4-hour work week down here.
My books are all packed, so I can't say what my books are. They're all packed away.
Well, I'm in the mood. I'm in the way of transitioning to stuff that I want to have quick references here.
Yeah.
But I have, I have 10 copies of a book that I'm in up here that I give away. And, those are books when I have my new book, it'll be up here on a regular basis. But
There's another one out there. I don't know if you've heard of it or not, but it's called The 5 Languages of Love. And it works across the board when it comes to communication and relationships for both couples, brother, sister, friendship, whatever the case may be. That's another really good book.
Mm-hmm.
The 5 Languages of Love.
So the 2 books that I'm trying to write is Simple, Easy Success. All right. And You Don't Need a Life Coach. How to Fix Your Own Damn Life in 90 Days.
You don't need a life coach. Oh my gosh. We'll have to talk next week on that topic of coaches, because that's a whole new realm of things that I read an interesting article again, and I was like, wow. Wow.
All right. So that's next week. We're going to talk about coaches. What else should we talk about next week? I mean, any listener ideas as to what we should listen to talk about? So,
yeah, I'll see what else I can find. But coaches, I read this article that was just fantastic, and it just really pushes the whole coaching industry kind of on a totally different mindset.
Well, I mean, in reality, by definition, I'm kind of a coach, but I really don't tell people I'm a coach. But I've had people come to me and say, well, what kind of coaching do you do? And I actually have it on 3 different levels. My first level is my mastermind, which you're in my mastermind. All right. Is my mastermind. And my mastermind is generally, you can come to me, but it's generally around the group. Then the next level is people I'm working with one-on-one to accomplish something. And the next people are the rich ones who want to get richer. Because there's different aspects to, my coaching versus my mastermind. My coaching includes we have a timed call. We call every week. My mastermind, they can book a call with me anytime they want, but they're not, you can't, if you want to go into what they call the accountability call, that's an extra charge.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about coaching, and we'll talk about it next week, is that it's a whole ball game of, now you go into a networking event or anywhere and you meet somebody, 10 people you've met, 5 of them are coaches.
Yeah.
If not more.
The word, I used to say that, the term life coach now means I'm broke. I'm broke. I have a laptop and I hang out at Starbucks.
Yeah. We'll go into more detail next week.
Anyway, no, I won't. I won't side with it too much. All right. It's like, I'm a consultant. What does that mean? I'm unemployed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, as we close out our show today, because it's that time of the week. Whoa. I have it here. Oh, wait. Oh, there it is. I'm trying to find the button to be able to put it up there. Time to close out our week. So, Katrina, tell everybody your website so we can actually get them to come find you more.
So my website, as you see it flying through, is kgwebsitedesigns.com. And Tim, tell us about your website and how they can get a hold of you.
Hey, my name's Tim Gillette, by the way, timgillette.com. Be the best way to get there. There's something I have that I've never turned on in StreamYard is this. Oh, it won't do it now unless I hold on. I got to take this down. Look. Our names.
Amazing.
I don't have it on, but anyway, I don't have it on for other reasons, but I just realized I can put that on for this show. But anyway, well, guys, I'm Tim Gillette, and this is Katrina. We have a great time with you guys every week. I hope you come back and see us next week. And by the way, we have a Facebook page up now. Please go like our Facebook page, subscribe to us where you get the podcast, and we'll have a YouTube channel up soon.
Yes. And a LinkedIn channel. We're
going to have a lot of stuff up real soon as we build this over and over again. We're getting better.
Yep.
One step at a time.
You get to see our progress.
Yeah. Hey, we started and we figured it out as we go.
Exactly.
What you should be doing. So, all right, guys, we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.